Hello, everyone, and welcome to Local Eco Stories episode 3. Today on the show, we have Oliver. Oliver is very passionate about garbage and composting. He is a part of a few organizations. One of them is called the Potato House Project, and the other one is called the Cariboo Chilcotin Conservation Society. I personally know Oliver from the Sustainable Living Leadership Program, where we canoed and rafted down the Fraser River. And he was basically the facilitator, he was the program guide. He's super awesome. Like he could talk about garbage for hours, and composting is just so interesting to listen to. Now, in this episode, we're going to be talking about composting in small towns. We're going to be talking about plastic waste and also food waste. Hopefully, you enjoy this because I really enjoy listening to Oliver speaking about garbage. He has like this entire thing on Facebook where he just educates his town about garbage, and I freaking love it.
So, where are you from? Where are you located right now?
I live
Which
in
town?
Williams Lake, BC. It's about 600 kilometers north of Vancouver, 4 hour drive north of Hope, along the Fraser Canyon, near a lake called Williams Lake.
What are some sustainable things that you're involved in your town?
Sustainable things I'm involved in town. Well, I I help operate a nonprofit called the Potato House Project, and we have a community garden where we do workshops about all kinds of things garden related. So how to garden, talk about bees, native species, invasive plants, and we also have on-site composting, which we provide for the community. Living in a small town, we don't have curbside pickup for organics, so most organics diversion solutions have to be done on your own in your backyard. Some people have animals, pigs and chickens, and some people do nothing. And then some people bring their stuff to the potato house, which is where I spend a lot of my time managing food waste and turning it into wonderful soil amendment we call black gold.
Nice. I wonder, how did this start? Because when did this start actually?
It started off as a dream for developing a community garden for Williams Lake. There was no community gardens in the area at the time, and a good friend of mine, Mary Forbes, had a vision of transferring an old heritage home on a city lot near the downtown core into a community garden. And of course, when you start gardening, you're always left over with some scraps for the compost pile. So what started as one pallet style composter eventually morphed itself into 13. And now we have 13 plus 2 small windrows dealing with organic waste from the community. So it just keeps growing every year.
And I know I already know this answer to this question, but how do you collect it?
It's drop off. So we don't do any collection at all. So it's we offered up kitchen catchers for people, like the small buckets to put in the countertop in your home. And then when those are full, you can bring them down to the potato house. We actually operate Canada's only drive-through composting program. You could literally drive through and chuck your apple directly into the bin from your car and not even get to step out. So where else can you do that?
That's pretty funny, yeah. How did you convince people to do this? Like, what is...
I think I'm beyond the point of trying to convince somebody to do something they don't want to do. I'm here to help people who want to learn how to do something they're interested in better. So, yeah, and the last 5 years or 5 or 6 years I've been down there, people are more and more interested in the life cycle of food and organics, right? People want nutrients for their soil, and they realize their leftovers in the kitchen could be potential nutrients for the soil, and they put two and two together and they start learning about composting. So yeah, a big part of that comes from when you start splitting up your waste and your recycling, and then you have garbage, and then your garbage can still stinks, and you wonder why. And it's like, oh, it's because I have food in there, and you're like, well, what can I do with the food? And then you start figuring out, you start asking around, and then eventually we pop up. So yeah.
Isn't it fascinating how it's like, it almost seems like it's almost like common sense, like you don't want to have food and garbage together, but it's surprising that, even back in the days, like 10 years ago, it was normal for me. Like, I came from Russia, and it was normal for me to just throw food in the garbage, and it's just fascinating how it's so unnormal now.
What do you think your turning point was?
Well, I realized that yes, the garbage smells, and my parents were saying, "Oh, the garbage is gonna smell, like the compost is gonna smell. We don't want to do it." So I was like, "But your garbage is still gonna smell the same because the matter that's it cannot be destroyed or created. So it's the same matter whether it's separated or not. It's gonna smell regardless."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so there's many ways to compost, right? You could do freezer composting if like
Yeah.
someone's complaining about the smell. Or but I what I basically did it as I said to my parents, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be half of least resistance for you. You're gonna put your compost where your garbage used to be, and then you're gonna think about garbage and put your hand to the left. So basically, I taught them that, and then eventually it became so normal that now we have compost and garbage. But that took a while.
Yeah, it does take time. Yeah.
Yeah, to like train someone that
Yeah.
now it almost feels like abnormal. It's like, what? Like, why are they together? Like, they don't belong together.
Yeah, it completely becomes habit over time.
Yeah,
And then
it's
you go
pretty
on
cool.
holidays, you're like, oh, I only have one garbage can here. I better take this compost home with me.
Or you're like, what? Like, what's going on? Like, where do I put this? And you're just like lost. Or you're traveling and you don't know, like, what? There's no compost, and it's so confusing. Yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy. I know.
isn't that's awesome that we think like that now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I've been packing home lots of, yeah, usually I just have a little bin in my car when I'm on the road now. So
yeah,
anything organic I just chuck in there, and then when I get home after whatever 2, 3, 4 days a week, I just chuck it in the compost bin.
yeah,
Because I
exactly.
feel bad throwing it in the garbage, and I don't
It
want to,
just feels weird. Yeah,
yeah, I don't want to throw food into the wild nilly-willy because it might affect an animal's, food cycle. So
exactly.
pack it in a bag and take it home. Plus I want it for my garden. So
Yeah. I'm curious if during this project, if there was any moments of beauty or like happiness, like pros, highlights, or anything that just fascinated you
hmm.
from starting it.
Well, I enjoy the process of composting. Like that's where I
Yeah.
spend most of my energy at the community garden
Mm-hmm.
and as a waste educator. I mean, recycling is a big thing, but
Mm-hmm.
the process of turning like what was once garbage, like you talked about, into something that can feed your plants and feed you again
Mm-hmm.
is pretty cool. And
Yeah.
there's definitely, it's not the easiest thing in the world with a shovel, and I like the smell, so it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
It's yeah, when you feel that finished like nutrient rich earth smelling soil at the end, and you're like, man, this used to be banana peels
Yeah.
and mango pits, and oh, there's a fruit sticker, better take it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just so good, like like it's just that's worth it. And yeah,
Yeah.
and to see, I do a lot of record keeping as well, so I check temperatures every week and record levels and stuff like that, and we send our stuff away for sampling. It's always come back good from the laboratories.
Uh-huh.
So like, I started collecting the data over a while, and then just finally figured out the math that we actually are collecting a ton of food waste per month.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty proud of that. So I mean,
How
that's
much? Or like what percentage or what's the
of the overall waste
yeah.
that we're collecting from the community.
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty small.
Yeah.
Our community is pretty small, so like I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it's 1,300 tons of waste is generated annually, which
Uh-huh.
is super low actually for waste in general. It's pretty small for
Uh-huh.
the community of Williams Lake. So I'm diverting 12 of that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, organics waste, I mean, there's other stuff that happens too. People bring yard waste to the dump and that's measured. That's
Yeah.
like grass clippings. We don't take that sort of stuff. I don't trust
Mhm.
what people put on their lawns, and I don't want that in my finished soil product. So I don't take any
Mhm.
grass. So
Yeah.
that's composting that still happens in town. And yeah, compost I think is about 35 to 40%. I mean, we take food waste, right? When you think of
Mhm.
organics, you're also including cardboard, paper, all that
Mhm.
stuff. So
True. True.
yeah. And for the size of our facility, I mean, it's pretty good. Like most
Uh-huh.
people don't process a ton a year in their backyard alone at all, not even close.
Uh-huh.
So Yeah, when we take from restaurants all over town and different people, and yeah, yeah. I'm diverting from the fact that it's a small percentage, but whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that's okay. I mean, you know, the whole beauty of the when I was personally there, I just thought it was like it was a community, and it
Yeah.
had a vibe of like education. It was just so fun, and there was bees, and it was just like wow. Yeah.
Yeah, the site itself, you're right, is a super amazing spot. I'm focused a lot on the composting because that's where I spend a lot of my time. But it's a
Yeah.
super old building. It was one of the older buildings in town. It's one of the oldest buildings left in town. It's registered with the Heritage Society, and it's one of the few heritage buildings that's actually a house. Like it's
Uh-huh.
not a church or a judge's house. It's just an everyday average person's home, and we've preserved lots of it inside and built up structure to make sure it can support people coming in looking at it. So that's super cool. And having like ton of garden beds. We have an open concept. People can walk through the garden whenever they want. So people come and have lunch down there on a nice day from work and stuff, or just relax in the sunshine because it's really warm.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. There's a nice
And
sense of
dance. I remember last time we were there, we were doing salsa or something. It was,
yeah.
yeah, it was funny.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, we have music shows there and everything. Yeah, that's for sure.
That's sweet.
Yeah. Easter egg hunts for the kids, that sort of stuff.
So I've been watching your Facebook stuff, and you had very interesting videos about waste. What are
Yes.
those videos about? Where are they coming from, and what organization, and what is that? Yeah.
Okay, so one of my few paid jobs is working for the Cariboo Chilcotin Conservation Society, and we're
Can you say
funded
that again? The Caribou what?
Cariboo
Caribou.
Chilcotin, which
Uh-huh.
is the area where Williams Lake lives,
Yeah.
Conservation Society.
Gotcha. Okay.
So CCCS, yeah.
Yeah.
And we're funded through the City of Williams Lake and the Cariboo Regional District to
Yeah.
help promote waste education, water reduction education, invasive species, that sort of stuff. And we usually present workshops to whoever's interested. We spend a lot of times in the schools teaching the kids about recycling, waste management, zero waste, composting, repurposing, reusing, all kinds of stuff like that, right? So
Uh-huh.
we host events like clothing swaps, and we have an event around Christmas called the Earth Friendly Holiday Event, where we make everything for Christmas out of like natural items like moss and twigs and stuff like that, or recycled bike rims, make a wreath. It's
Yeah.
super cool, like things like that. So, but now that we can't have any workshops or hold any public events or
Yeah.
get in the schools, we've decided to take our work online as best as we can. So
Yeah, I really like it. I'm watching them and I'm entertained, and I find it so funny. It is the way you're like so enthusiastic in the videos, and I'm like, yeah.
yeah, well, it's easy to be enthusiastic about something when you like it. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
How do you teach the kids zero waste? Because we have that
Um,
too here in Vancouver. I'm just curious how you do it.
one thing I've introduced is trash art classes. They're super fun. So I just basically go in the classroom with a bunch of like stuff that can't go in the recycling bin, and it would mostly be garbage, like
Yeah.
bread clips or what else, like bottle caps, like the small things that never make it to the end of the recycling stream.
So
And,
where did the bottle caps go?
well, hopefully the metal detector picks them up, but everything gets run through a big shaker that has like a pretty big mesh on it. So all the recycling, when it's loose, goes across this shaker, and all the small things like fall through and just get
Uh-huh.
landfilled because like how much energy you're going to spend trying to recycle one little bread clip.
Yeah. Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
So they just kind of get the little stuff out of
Yeah.
there and focus on the bulkier items like the
Yeah.
shampoo bottles and milk jugs and stuff like that. So I
Uh-huh.
bring those into the classroom, and then we just figure out ways to make Christmas ornaments out of it, or build a big robot or something, whatever. So
Yeah.
those are super fun because I don't have any plan in mind, and usually let the kids just roll with it, and the stuff they come up with is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the future, right? They're gonna invent stuff out of this. Out of
Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool things out there. For
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Plastic is it's gonna be around for a while. So
Mhm.
we just gotta figure out how we can just reuse it, repurpose it, and reduce consuming it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate that products touching a lot of things that we eat, right, and put on our skin.
Yeah. Huh.
This
I'm
is another
curious.
topic for another podcast.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's gonna come around because I'm gonna be talking to a lot of people who are all experts in one field, or they all do something environmentally, so most likely they understand uh, stuff about plastic, and so I'm hoping that this all comes around, all this information, and it's gonna be very interesting to find
Yeah,
out what's going on around everywhere. It's just and um. What I'm curious is, do you know by any chance about plastic straws?
I
Like,
do.
what's the story behind them? Are they recyclable or not?
No, hell no, heck no, no, they're
Tell
not.
us why.
Why?
Yeah.
Well, plastics in general are hard to recycle to begin with. So if a plastics recycler doesn't really know what the plastic is that they're dealing with, it takes
Mhm,
a lot of extra energy to try and turn it into something useful.
mhm,
Right. So there's plastic straws are made from many different types of plastic, junk plastic, mixed plastics, whatever. So they're a hard product to recycle. So it's not accepted. They don't want it.
mhm.
That's the main reason.
And they don't want it. Like, what's the difference between a straw and, let's say, a plastic cup?
Density for sure.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not a chemist or anything like that, by nature.
Yeah, these are.
Totally
Yeah,
recommend you to a person that knows the composites of this stuff way
uh-huh.
better than I do,
Yeah.
for sure.
I always wondered that these questions, and especially there's also compostable straws and stuff like that, and what the heck happens to those, and like what it,
Great
talk
question.
about yeah, like talk about compostable plastic, like what the heck is it, and what do we do with it, and do we even need it?
Well, the whole thing starts off with a labeling issue, in my opinion, is compostable, biodegradable, oxodegradable. Like, what are we supposed to do with all these new terms? Like, I don't know, right? So if you research what what the words mean, it's different everywhere you go in the world. So it's kind of
Uh-huh.
hard to take what's on the package as an actual valid information.
Uh-huh.
But here in Canada, the best thing well, let me just put it this way: compostable and biodegradable plastics are not recyclable. You can't put them in the recycling bin. Most composting facilities do not accept any form of compostable or biodegradable plastics currently.
Mhm.
So that means they're a landfill item.
Mhm.
And because they're made of organic materials, they break down much like food waste in the landfill, releasing methane. So
Mhm. Such a
currently, we're in
waste.
this transition period trying to replace non-recyclable plastics or plastics in general with a compostable or biodegradable version, which should be better if we could actually compost it. That would have a better effect. But because it ends up in the landfill currently, it's not a solution yet.
Mhm.
Some places do take some forms of PLAs. Some facilities will accept certain forms of compostable plastics.
Mhm.
Um, and those agreements are usually made with the person directly. Like, I don't know
Mhm.
about you and your curbside organics bin, but I'm pretty sure you can't put any compostable or biodegradable plastics in there.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure you can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of hard to. What I've noticed is I've been just going around and talking to a lot of people in my life, and I'm noticing that a lot of people just don't know these things. And the
Mhm.
things that are kind of, we work with every day and we understand. There's a lot of, it's not in the public. A lot of people don't
Yeah.
understand that, like, compostable doesn't actually mean in your curbside recycling.
Yeah, the education
But
part's super hard to get across. And I know
yeah,
that many municipalities struggle with the same thing. Like, how do
yeah,
we get people to understand that, like, this type of compostable is okay, but this type isn't? So that's why they just
yeah,
blanket statements say no compostable plastics, period.
uh-huh,
Because that
yeah,
is easier for the public to digest than, like, okay, well, type 1 is okay, but type 2, 3, and 4 are not, and type 5 is only okay in this location, and type 6 is maybe okay here, but not today, So
yeah,
they
yeah,
just blanket it and say no compostable plastics, no biodegradable plastics, just
yeah,
organics only. So
uh-huh,
yeah, but I mean, like, there's lots of stuff that squeezes through, like fruit stickers. Talk to any composter, they hate those things because they don't break down, and people just leave them on the food.
Yeah.
Bread tags end up in there, twist ties, a lot of things. But yeah, it's getting better. I mean, it used to be way worse. But at the potato house, if I find something that's wrong, I have like this little small reused fish aquarium. It's like a glass square, and I just put all the non-compostable things in it and leave it on display so people
So
can
that
see.
people could see. Yeah. Yeah. You're like, you maybe pulled that out, eh?
Yeah, I got this one person bringing me Keurig pods like every week. I'm like, get these out of here. They're plastic, and the coffee grinds are inside, but there's like 3 cases of plastic hiding it in there. Like, I can't compost that.
Yeah. Did you say the coffee pods?
Yeah, the Keurig
Oh
pods.
no. Oh. Oh my god, I hate coffee pods.
Yeah, I know. But look at us, these are the complaints of my life right now. It's not too bad.
Yeah. I was working in an office and they didn't even have the option of, they only had the coffee machine. I was like,
Yeah.
what? I was just surprised. I thought we were all on the same page, and but we weren't. So every
Those
single
pods
day,
are actually, if you empty them out, you can put them in your recycling bin.
it's just like they didn't even have a recycling at all.
Oh, yeah.
Zero,
It's tough.
nothing.
The whole system is split between residential and commercial. So when you're in like a commercial building, they have to abide by different rules than you do at home. So
Really?
it's a cost factor issue. And so the company can either decide to spend money on managing their waste properly, which is usually extra money, or at home, your waste management is paid for with your taxes. So that's covered, right? So and our
Interesting.
programs are built for residential situations more than they are from commercial sectors.
See, I didn't know that. That's why businesses might sometimes not even have a compost, because it's like extra money for them.
Yeah, but more and more are switching because they know the customer is complaining.
Yeah, and the customer don't like it. Yeah, I know.
So we see it a lot in the restaurants and the cafes, the places where people can visually see it, but we don't see enough of it, in my opinion, in the office buildings that could do a way better job, especially diverting like paper. Like, we need to get those organics out of the landfill.
How many times can paper be recycled?
That's a great question, and I don't actually know the answer to that, but I'm definitely thinking more than a couple times.
I've heard rumors that it was not rumors. It's just I'm not sure if it's correct information or not. But about 5 times, because the fibers keep breaking.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, you'll see a lot of things too, like like a cardboard egg carton. Like that's a more pulpy type of material than like a nice sheet of white paper.
Yeah.
So after a while, it can be purposed into something like that, and then essentially, it is also organic material, and you could put it in your compost. Yeah. And you can put that carbon back in the ground. Yeah.
Interesting, eh?
Yeah, it takes a lot of energy to recycle too, and people forget that quickly. We ship plastic jugs all over the province, all over Canada, all over the world. And then we have to melt it down, break it down into a pelletized form, ship it somewhere else, So recycling does take energy. I mean, but I just like to think of it as the last option. I think the first option should be reducing, then reusing, then recycling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how the order of the 3 R's go, isn't it?
For sure, yeah. Yeah. I wonder if you guys have in the small towns, and do they have zero waste stores? Is that a thing?
No. No. But there's things that we do different here. So when I say we only diverted 12 tons at the potato house for organics, at the Conservation Society 2 years ago, I decided to spearhead a food waste diversion program. So I was partnering farmers with restaurants. This is not a new concept. Loop Resources does it up in the Peace River area. Food Mesh does it down in the Lower Mainland. And food that's wasted at restaurants or grocery stores gets diverted to people first, or to in the case here in the Cariboo Chilcotin, ranchers, so people with pigs or goats or chickens, and you believe it or not, like I have a friend that works at the hospital here, and they fight over the food scraps there at the hospital because there's 3 ladies there that have chickens at home. So they're like, I want this for my chickens. So no
Huh.
food gets thrown in the garbage there, right?
Uh-huh.
And that
Yeah.
happens all over town. And more people live out of town than in town. So many people have animals, and many people want this source of free feed for their livestock. Technically,
Mm.
yeah.
Interesting. I always, yeah, especially I work in banquet service, right? There was a lot of food waste there. I wonder, is there any law in terms of because I heard that, for example, if it's food waste like an apple that you cannot sell in a store anymore, then you could still give it to, let's say, a nonprofit organization, and they could give it away for free. But if it's like food that's been prepared, then there's different rules around that. It has to be like kept hot and food safe. And I'm curious if you know anything about this, how, because in the law you have to make sure that the food is food safe, right? So I wonder if there's anything, how does that, yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, I did take my food case safe course last year just to make
Uh-huh.
sure I was a little bit up to date on this stuff.
Uh-huh.
Any food that's served on a buffet table, once it's out there, you can't reserve it to humans.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. So that type of food would have been diverted to animals,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
Those animals necessarily weren't for resale of meat to a consumer market. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about somebody with maybe 4 or 5 pigs at home, feeding them some food scraps from a restaurant, and they're gonna use these pigs for meat in their freezer for their family for the year or two.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a personal choice at that time, and
Mm-hmm.
that's their decision. But when it comes to like feeding humans with leftovers, the only relationship or arrangement that we have here is Loop Resources partnered with the Salvation Army and Save On Foods.
Uh-huh.
So the Salvation Army actually gets to go into Save On and look at what is potentially almost expired and going to go in the garbage,
Yeah.
because they'll
Yeah.
throw away stuff that's not quite expired but almost expired, and people won't buy it if it's
Mm-hmm.
almost expired, right? So it's
Yeah.
too good to eat.
Exactly. Yeah.
And a lot of food in expired cans is still fine too, a week or
Yeah.
two after for sure,
Yeah.
if not longer. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So Salvation Army makes those judgment calls on the food and then feed it to the people who need it. And
Yeah.
the Good Samaritan Act of Canada covers any sort of liability issues related with donating food to somebody who needs it. You can't
Uh-huh.
get sued over that. Any company that's used that liability excuse is just because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with separating food waste out of their garbage stream.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, I find that's very interesting that you talk about this, because I feel like I've been mostly in the food waste kind of, that's what I'm passionate about. So that's where I've been hanging out, and I've seen a lot of these cool projects that are going on. Let's see how much
that's
time.
great. I really believe food waste is a big one, and I hate food waste. Any sort of organic waste that goes in the garbage it's such a shame.
Yeah, it is
You know?
good material. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes energy to grow food and to move food, and then you
Yeah.
just don't eat half of it because you took too much. Like,
Yeah.
unless you've never been hungry.
Yeah. I've seen so many things, like, because I'm a banquet service, right? You see, like, sometimes there's models and people who are wearing dresses and they're so tight and they don't want to eat anymore because, like, they're watching their figure and stuff like that. And can you imagine just, like, so many bags of food waste? But it's like, they're just taking care of their bodies. They don't mean to, because the portions are pretty huge.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, and it's like, to go is probably the best way to go.
Mm-hmm.
To go, right? But it's interesting just watching imagine you're like in a super rich event and like you're at Barack Obama's dinner. It's there's a lot of social pressures too, like taking it to go, and it's just fascinating watching people's psychology and food waste, and because
Yeah,
you're bored and having nothing better to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't tend to focus on that side of it that often, so I appreciate that
Yeah.
other side. I mean, yeah, we usually have we take little to-go kits with us everywhere we go. So if we're full, then you just whip out your little glass container you got in your bag or
Yeah.
whatever, and just take it to go and eat it
Yeah.
at home or feed your chickens.
Your
Right?
chickens or your
Compost.
kids.
Yeah, totally. Like if you're not gonna eat it yourself, that's fine. I just even like organics in the landfill. Methane gas is way more potent than carbon dioxide. We spend a lot of energy on this carbon dioxide. Yeah, I know there's too much of it up there. We got to get it back in the ground. But the best way to do that is to create like organic, healthy soil that can actually
Yeah.
absorb and hold carbon. And
Yeah.
we can do that with composting and redirecting any organics from like, as far as I'm concerned, there should be zero organics in the landfill. It should just be plastic, glass, and metal. And all
Yeah.
organics would be composted, and we could make soil, and we could capture carbon from the atmosphere and store it back in the ground. We need to reverse what's happening. And that's the way
Yeah.
to do it.
Huh.
So even when somebody throws a paper plate in the garbage can, I'm like, ah.
It's- yeah, there are a little internal dialogue there. It's hilarious. Yeah. All right. So my next question for you is: people who, let's say, want to start their own environmentally friendly project or pursue something to create a more sustainable world that are young or anybody at all, what's your advice for them?
Just go for it. Like I started in my career at the recycling station. I was offered a job for the summer to help introduce a new recycling program in Williams Lake.
Mhm.
And the pay was pretty low, and I have a mortgage of the house and wasn't too sure if I should take it or not. And what I ended up doing was just, I do pros and cons lists about next life decisions or whatever. I kind of wrote all that stuff
Yeah.
down and
Yeah.
was like, well, I think I should do this because I really like recycling anyways. It was already part of who I was and waste diversion. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take this job. So I had to create a new budget for my lifestyle and basically just cut out a lot of things for 4 months. I mean, that was the beauty. It was only a 4-month gig. It's not like the rest of your life type decision.
Mhm.
So I did it. I did it, for a low wage. I was a recycling educator down at the dump for the entire summer, and ever since then, I guess I did a good job. So they asked me to do all kinds of other stuff. So it's completely snowballed since that first gig, and just do what it takes. Like if you believe in something strong enough, just go there and live it. That's the biggest thing. It's pretty hard to preach it from behind a screen. You got to be out there shoveling the dirt, sorting the trash, picking up the garbage, and doing what you believe in. And then eventually people take notice.
Yeah.
So don't give up.
Yeah.
Token
Cool.
advice. Yeah.
My next question is, if people want to find you on social media or anywhere online, or if we want to find out more about what you do in terms of your organizations, and where could we go? Is there websites or is there Facebook or?
Yeah, well, our websites have our contact information, etc., our profiles of our staff, blah blah blah, our mandates, and then the Facebook page is the most active one. Small communities, that seems to be the best way to communicate with the community is through Facebook for social media.
Okay.
We do have some Instagram as well, but it's definitely not as busy as our Facebook page. So.
And the Facebook page is called?
Well, it depends who you want to follow.
Let's follow both. Let's follow.
Okay, so there's the Potato House Project.
Yeah.
On Facebook, and on Instagram, it's the Potato House Project. Same.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You'll see like a little white house as an icon.
Yeah.
And then there's the Cariboo Chilcotin Conservation Society.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And on Instagram, it's cccs_lives.
Okay.
So we just started that, so we're just kind of get going on that one. But if you want to see what I'm up to personally, you can always just follow me on.
Oh yeah, no wait. Oh yeah, tell us about that. I know about this. It's super awesome. I like these ones.
I'm sure you'll superimpose rat tail trails up there.
Rat tail trail, yeah. It's like the red clips. Yeah.
People love to chat with you when you're turning compost at a community garden. I don't know why, but great place to start.
Yeah. Great way to make friends, eh?
Oh yeah, it's actually crazy. Like I used to go down there when I first started, and it'd be hours of time shoveling by myself, just doing it. But now I go down there for 10, 20 minutes and I always see somebody. Yeah. There's somebody there all the time dropping off compost. That's when you know it's starting to be a success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much for being on this Local Eco Stories podcast. I really enjoyed listening, and it was very interesting, and I learned. And I'm hoping everybody else will learn as well, something new. And yeah.
I hope so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should tell anybody, like, I mean, it literally is my passion to answer waste questions. So people can message me anytime.
Heck yeah, that's what I like
At
to
Rat
hear.
Tail Trails. Can I put this in my recycling bin? Yeah. Message me. Send me a photo. I don't care. I'll answer it for you.
Right. Thank you for watching. If you're interested to find out more about the organizations that he talks about, you could find the links in the description, as well as please remember to like, comment, and share so that we can grow a bigger audience and that we can have a greater impact. Again, thank you so much for watching and have a good day.